You're listening to the Matt the Stat Sports Podcast. I am your host, Matt the Stat, where we talk about football, baseball, basketball, and everything sports. So today, for my show, I'll be talking to you guys about the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. I'll have a game recap and analysis for you guys of this game coming up, and you don't want to miss it, because I've got a great show for you guys today, and it ends up being an NFC West rivalry between the San Francisco 49ers and the Arizona Cardinals, a division matchup. And we all know right now that the Los Angeles Rams, they lead in the NFC West right now, but we got the 49ers and the Cardinals. That is the game that I'll be recapping for you guys today. But before I get into that, I hope you guys are enjoying your Friday, the start of your weekend. I'm excited for the weekend as always. You know me, I'm always excited for the weekend with football, college football tomorrow, pro football on Sunday, and I cannot wait to get to the weekend. So before that, I've got an NFL recap for you guys today between the San Francisco 49ers and the Arizona Cardinals. So give a little background on both of these teams. Now, we talk about the San Francisco 49ers. I really haven't talked about the San Francisco 49ers very much on this show. So it's been a while since the last time I talked about the San Francisco 49ers. And when we look at the San Francisco 49ers, I look at the San Francisco 49ers and I say, well, last year, not a great year, a bunch of injuries, just really a rash of injuries. Same thing again this year, a rash of injuries this year for the San Francisco 49ers. Brock Purdy ends up coming down with a turf toe injury after the season opener in Seattle against the Seahawks. And the injury just kept piled up. At one point, Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall were out, and it's been a revolving door for the San Francisco 49ers. And not only that, Nick Bosa, their best pass rusher, is out with a torn ACL, and their best linebacker, Fred Warner, is also out for the year with I think it's a dislocated ankle or a fractured ankle, one of the two. I don't know, but Fred Warner is done for the season. So, the San Francisco 49ers, so far in this division, it's been at times rough going for the San Francisco 49ers, and somehow with all the rash of injuries that they've had this year, somehow the San Francisco 49ers have been able to stay afloat. And I really don't even know how the San Francisco 49ers have stayed afloat, but you had to give some credit to Kyle Shanahan. He's done a great job. He's a great coach. Obviously, he's kept this team together. Mac Jones did a terrific job while Brock Purdy was out. And not only that, Brock Purdy returned for this game against the Arizona Cardinals. And you know what? I can't wait to talk about this game and how Brock Purdy did. So the San Francisco 49ers, you look at what the San Francisco 49ers have done so far this season, it's been at times tough sledding for the San Francisco 49ers. And at the same time, it's like, well, how is this team even staying afloat? Well, right now, they are still staying afloat. Right now, they are behind the Rams and the they are right now behind the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks, which, of course, the Seahawks lost to the Los Angeles Rams last week. So that will help the San Francisco 49ers in that case. But the San Francisco 49ers, going into this game, they're coming off a tough blowout loss to the Los Angeles Rams. And the San Francisco 49ers, they are looking to bounce back in this game after suffering a blowout loss to Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. Now, on the other side, the Arizona Cardinals, like I said, just talked about the Arizona Cardinals last Friday when they were playing the Seattle Seahawks. And, I went over that game. I talked about that game. We talked about the Arizona Cardinals struggles. And not only that, just to make it worse for the Arizona Cardinals, not just that Kyler Murray is hurt. Now Marvin Harrison Jr. was not available for this game last Sunday. So the Arizona Cardinals, it's been rough going for them as well in terms of injuries. A lot of injuries this season for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, they came in a little healthier than the San Francisco 49ers did, but the San Francisco 49ers, they got a lot of players back. Brock Purdy, Ricky Pearsall was out there, Juwan Jennings, and it's really been the Christian McCaffrey show so far this season for the San Francisco 49ers. And Christian McCaffrey, Mr. Do-It-All, as I like to say, he's really done a great job running the ball. He's been a threat out of the backfield, which we all know. I mean, he's been targeted the most times this season so far. And you're kind of looking to try to get some of that workload off of Christian McCaffrey and try not to get him injured. And so far, Christian McCaffrey, he's had a really healthy year so far, and he has looked really good. And for the Arizona Cardinals, like I said, with the injuries and all of that, Jacoby Brissett has actually been looking pretty good for the Arizona Cardinals. It's not like the Arizona Cardinals haven't been able to move the football, but the biggest issue with the Arizona Cardinals is that they have not been able to capitalize inside the red zone this season. That has been the Arizona Cardinals' Achilles heel. They've not been able to capitalize once they get inside the 20-yard line. That has been the biggest problem this season for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, getting into this game between the 49ers and the San Francisco 49ers, and the Niners, they would get off to a great start in this game with Sky Moore with a kickoff return, and he would return it all the way down to the San Francisco 49er 1-yard line, which ended up being a 98-yard kickoff return. So a great start for the San Francisco 49ers. You can't get any better start than that. You start the game off with a bang, with Sky Moore returning at 98 yards, return down to the Arizona Cardinal 1-yard line. So you can't get a better start than that. And the Niners, they would capitalize. One play in the end zone, and it was a Christian McCaffrey rushing touchdown. And the San Francisco 49ers, just like that, after a great kickoff return and just one play on offense, it's 7-0 49ers. So the first drive of the game for the Arizona Cardinals, they start with a good run from Bam Knight, then a Brissett completion to Wilson for a first, then a delay of game penalty on the Cardinals. The drive would stall, and the Cardinals, they would have to punt. So after the Cardinals punt, the Niners, they start their second drive of the game, and they start with converting on a 3rd and 8 with a Purdy pass completion to Juwan Jennings for a first, then another Purdy completion to Robinson, capped by a Purdy deep touchdown pass to George Kittle. Extra point ends up getting blocked, and it's 13-0 San Francisco. So on that touchdown pass, Brock Purdy, we talk about it, he returns to the lineup dealing with that turf toe injury. And not only that, turf toes, they can be a nagging injury, and they can keep nagging at you for a long time. And Brock Purdy came back once during the season. He wasn't able to play in that game. Well, he did play against Jacksonville, but he did not finish the game. And Brock Purdy, we talk about that touchdown pass to George Kittle. I mean, first off, it was man coverage. Brock Purdy, he audibled out of a play. He saw a single high safety, which anybody that has played football or doesn't really know the game, if you see a single high safety, that usually means they're playing some kind of man coverage. And Brock Purdy, he saw that single high safety, man coverage, George Kittle on a slot fade, and it ends up being a touchdown. A great throw from Brock Purdy, right on the money to George Kittle. And just like that, the San Francisco 49ers find themselves leading 13-0, and the Arizona Cardinals now are looking at the same situation that they saw a week ago against the Seattle Seahawks, where they went down 28-0, and it was 28-0 in the second quarter. So the Arizona Cardinals, they find themselves in a very familiar situation, just like their last game against Seattle. So 13-0 San Francisco. Then the Arizona Cardinals, their next drive, they would start with converting on a third down with a Brissett deep pass to Michael Wilson for a first, then a Brissett completion to DeMarcado, then a Jacoby Brissett completion to Greg Dortch, then a Brissett quarterback sneak for a first, and the drive would be capped by a Bam Knight rushing touchdown, and it's now 13-7 San Francisco. So a much needed drive for the Arizona Cardinals. You find yourself down 13-0. You have the Sky Moore kickoff return, 98 yards. The Niners punch it in the end zone with a Christian McCaffrey rushing touchdown. You guys end up doing nothing on your first drive of the game, ended up having to punt. Then the next thing you know, before you know it, Brock Purdy throws a beautiful deep pass TD to George Kittle, and it's 13-0 San Francisco. And the Arizona Cardinals, they needed a touchdown bad, and they got it. Bam Knight with a rushing touchdown, 13-7 San Francisco. Next drive for the San Francisco 49ers, they would go 3 and out. The Cardinals would get the ball back. They would start with a false start on them, but the drive would end up stalling. The Cardinals would have to go for a field goal attempt, which would end up being no good. So far in this game, I don't know what was up with special teams or if it was just being up in the desert in Arizona. Special teams already an adventure at this point in this game, and it's still 13-7 San Francisco. So extra points so far through this first quarter, no good in this game. So the San Francisco 49ers, after the missed field goal attempt by the Cardinals, they would start with a Brock Purdy completion to Juwan Jennings, then a good run from Christian McCaffrey. That'd be the end of the first quarter. So now going into the second quarter, still the same drive for the San Francisco 49ers going into the second quarter. And then Purdy, he would complete a pass to Kittle for a first down, then a holding penalty on the Cardinals, and the drive would be capped by a Purdy TD pass to Christian McCaffrey, and the extra point would be missed again. And this time, Eddie Pinheiro would have it blocked, and it's 19-7 San Francisco. So Eddie Pinheiro has now missed a field goal. He's had a field goal blocked, and it's 19-7 49ers. So, like I said, the wild journey so far with special teams kind of continues here with all the missed extra points and field goal attempts, and it's 19-7 San Francisco. And not only that, on that scoring touchdown, the Arizona Cardinals, they had some kind of busted coverage. No one accounted for Christian McCaffrey. It was an easy walk-in touchdown once Brock Purdy got the ball to him, and there was some kind of missed assignment on that play by the Arizona Cardinals, and it's 19-7 San Francisco. Next drive for the Arizona Cardinals, they start with a Brissett completion to Wilson for a first, then an unnecessary roughness penalty on the Niners, then a Brissett play-action pass to Trey McBride for a first, then a unsportsmanlike penalty on the Cardinals, then a Brissett quick pass to Greg Dortch for a first, then a holding call on the Cardinals, and the drive would end up stalling, and the Cardinals would have to settle for another field goal attempt. And like I said, it's already been a journey so far with special teams, and while this time the field goal attempt would be good, it's 19-10 San Francisco. So the next drive for the San Francisco 49ers, they go 3 and out on their next drive, so they punt the ball back to the Arizona Cardinals, and the Cardinals will start with a holding call on them, but pretty much after that holding call, nothing else would happen for the Arizona Cardinals. The drive would stall, Cardinals would punt, they would give the ball back to the San Francisco 49ers, and the Niners, they would start with a good run on a halfback draw from McCaffrey for a big gain, then an offsides penalty on the Cardinals, then another good run from McCaffrey, then a screen pass to Kittle, and the Niners field goal. The Niners have to settle for a field goal attempt. They would end up making it, and it's 22-10 San Francisco 49ers. Next drive for the Arizona Cardinals, they would start with a Brissett completion to Wilson for a first, then a false start penalty on the Cardinals, and the drive ends after Brissett would end up throwing an interception to Malik Mustafa, Malik Mustafa, and once again, the Arizona Cardinals hurting themselves offensively in this game. Of course, the one thing, if you're kind of seeing with these drives with the Arizona Cardinals, you're seeing the penalties, and then, of course, Brissett, I think that was the one really bad throw that Jacoby Brissett made. It was double coverage, ends up throwing it into double coverage. It gets picked off by Mustafa, and the San Francisco 49ers now have a chance to really put this game out of reach. So the next drive for the San Francisco 49ers, they would start with a Purdy completion to Juwan Jennings, then an illegal contact penalty on the Cardinals, then another Purdy completion to Jennings. The Niners' field goal attempt would be no good with just seconds to go before halftime, and the Cardinals give the Niners a second try because it was a penalty on the Arizona Cardinals. So here we are. It's, just a few seconds before halftime, and the Arizona Cardinals, they get a penalty because someone was offsides, and it just gives the San Francisco 49ers another chance at this field goal attempt. Well, Eddie Pinheiro, he would end up making the second try, and it's 25-10 San Francisco 49ers going into halftime. So, what does it look like at the halftime break? The San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy looked really good in the first half. Brock Purdy looked great, making great decisions. He had that deep touchdown pass to George Kittle. The San Francisco 49ers kind of looked like the San Francisco 49ers that we had known just a couple of years ago, back in 2023, when Brock Purdy threw for over 4,000 yards that season in 2023. And he kind of looked like that version of Brock Purdy for San Francisco. And even though, the San Francisco 49ers, they don't run nearly as much play action as they used to back in 2023, you kind of saw them start to get back to that play action game. Brock making terrific decisions, audibling out of plays like he did with that George Kittle touchdown pass. Like I said, seeing that man coverage, that single high safety, and usually, like I said, when you see a single high safety, that means it's usually some kind of man coverage, and that means you'll have a one-on-one on the outside. So there was a one-on-one on the outside. He took it. It was a slot fade to Kittle. You get the touchdown. Beautifully done by the San Francisco 49ers in the first half. And not only that, Christian McCaffrey, once again, outstanding, running the football, receiving out of the backfield. Mr. Do-It-All, Christian McCaffrey, doing his thing. The 49ers look really good. Then the Arizona Cardinals, well, not the kind of start that you want. And when we talk about it, Jonathan Gannon, he was talking about, look, we did not get off to a great start against the Seattle Seahawks. We can't afford to have this repeat performance of getting down early and going down 28-0. Well, before you know it, the Arizona Cardinals find themselves down 13-0 to the San Francisco 49ers. Literally a repeat of last week for the Arizona Cardinals, or last game for the Arizona Cardinals. And once again, the Arizona Cardinals having to play catch-up ball in this game. And the one big issue for the Arizona Cardinals in this game was how many penalties they had in this game. I think they had 13 penalties in the first half, something like that. But somewhere in there, between halftime and the second half, they already had 13 penalties, whether if it was a holding call, whether if it was offsides. Now, one thing about football coaches is that they cannot stand it when you have pre-snap penalties, whether if that's not knowing what the snap count is, jumping off sides, whatever that may be, not not getting set when you motion, So stuff like that, coaches do not like. And the Arizona Cardinals, they hurt themselves in this game. Jacoby Brissett slicing and dicing out there looked really good, but the Arizona Cardinals, they got to limit those penalties. That was the biggest issue in this game for the Arizona Cardinals. They could not limit those penalties, and it hurt the Arizona Cardinals because the San Francisco 49ers, they came out swinging from the word go. And the 49ers, they look really good. The Arizona Cardinals, like I said, they got to clean up those penalties going into the second half. So second half of the game, the Cardinals, they start with an illegal motion penalty on them, then a Brissett completion to Knight, and then a holding call on the Cardinals after they initially had converted on 4th and inches. And this is the thing that I'm talking about. Once again, the Arizona Cardinals starting to put a nice drive together, and then a penalty absolutely kills the whole entire drive. And once again, the Cardinals find themselves punting after they had just converted on the 4th down, and Bam Knight had a terrific run all the way to the end zone for a touchdown. It ends up getting called back, and the Arizona Cardinals, they once again find themselves punting after a penalty on them, and it was a holding call, and it just destroyed the whole entire drive for the Arizona Cardinals. They give the ball back to the San Francisco 49ers. They start with a Purdy pass completion to Kyle Juszczyk for a first, then a screen pass to McCaffrey for a first, then a Purdy play-action pass to Kittle, then a good run from McCaffrey, but the drive would stall after Purdy gets sacked, and the Niners would have to settle for a field goal. And it is 28-10 San Francisco after the field goal. So the San Francisco 49ers, you want to get it punched in the end zone. They would end up having to settle for 3, and it's now 28-10 San Francisco. Next drive for the Arizona Cardinals. They start with a holding call on them, then a Brissett play-action pass to Michael Wilson for a first, then another completion to Wilson, then an illegal shift penalty on the Cardinals. The drive would end after Brissett would throw his second interception of the game to Diamador Lenore, and the 49ers, they are now back in business. So the Niners' next drive, they start with a Purdy play-action pass to Kittle for a first and goal, and the drive would be capped by a Purdy touchdown pass to George Kittle, and the San Francisco 49ers, they just continue to extend their lead. It's now 35-10 San Francisco. Next drive for the Arizona Cardinals. They start with a Brissett completion to Wilson, then a Michael Carter run for a first, then a Brissett completion to Trey McBride, then another Brissett completion to McBride for a first. That would be the end of the third quarter. So still the same drive for the Arizona Cardinals going into the second quarter. So after the Trey McBride completion, then there would be a holding call on the Cardinals once again. And once again, at this point now, you guys are kind of starting to figure out the theme. Cardinals get a good drive going, and then there is a penalty on them. This time, another holding call on the Cardinals. Then a Brissett completion to Weaver. The drive ends with the Cardinals fumbling. It would be recovered by the San Francisco 49ers. They would get the ball back, but the Niners would do nothing on their drive. They end up going three and out. So the Arizona Cardinal offense gets saved by their defense, so they get the ball back after the Niners go 3 and out. So next drive for the Arizona Cardinals, they start with converting on third down with a Brissett completion to McBride, then a Brissett completion to Wilson, then another Brissett completion to McBride, capped by a Brissett TD pass to McBride, and the Cardinals would go for 2. It is no good. So it's now 35-16 San Francisco. So Jacoby Brissett finding Trey McBride. And Trey McBride, he continues to be a star in the NFL. And yeah, Trey McBride, he may not get a lot of recognition because he's playing on a bad team with the Arizona Cardinals. And even though the Arizona Cardinals were not having a bad game offensively, they were moving the ball down the field. But, of course, penalties and turnovers really hurt the Arizona Cardinals in this game. So Trey McBride catches a touchdown pass from Jacoby Brissett. It's 35-16 San Francisco. Next drive, the Cardinals. So after that touchdown and the 2-point conversion is no good, the Cardinals would go for an onside kick, which would be unsuccessful. It would be recovered by the 49ers. So their next drive, the Niners, they start with a pretty bootleg pass to Kyle Juszczyk for a first, then a toss to McCaffrey for a first, then a Purdy completion to McCaffrey, then a big run from McCaffrey for a first and goal, and the drive would be capped by a toss to McCaffrey for a TD. The Niners go for two, which is unsuccessful, so now it's 41-16 San Francisco. So at this point, the San Francisco 49ers, they have blown this game out. At this point, if you're the Arizona Cardinals, there's really no chance that you're going to be able to come back in this game. And at this point, you look at the Arizona Cardinals, they've really, from the beginning to end, they had to play catch-up ball the rest of the way. And it really just kind of was a bad game overall for the Arizona Cardinals. Even though the offense was moving the ball down the field, it was not a great day for the Arizona Cardinals overall. So their next drive after the touchdown, the Cardinals, they would start with converting on a third down with a Brissett completion to Dortch for a first, then a Brissett completion to Carter. The drive would be capped by a Brissett TD pass to Greg Dortch, and the Cardinals would go for two, which is unsuccessful. And it's now 41-22 San Francisco. There would be no more scoring after that, and the 49ers go on to win this game by the final score of 41-22. So Arizona Cardinals, they get a touchdown right towards the end of the game. Didn't really matter at that point. The 49ers have pretty much put the game away, and the 49ers go on to win this game by the final score of 41-22. So quickly going over the stats here, Brock Purdy, he completed 19 of his 26 passes for 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Christian McCaffrey had 13 carries for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns. George Kittle had 6 receptions for 67 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Juwan Jennings had 4 receptions for 54 yards. For the Arizona Cardinals, Jacoby Brissett, he completed 47 of his 57 passes for 452 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, and Bam Knight had 5 carries for 24 yards and 1 touchdown. Michael Wilson had 15 receptions for 185 yards, and Trey McBride had 10 receptions for 115 yards and 1 touchdown. So just some of the stats from this game, the Arizona Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers. You look at the Arizona Cardinals and you say, what really hurt the Arizona Cardinals in this game? Well, like I had said earlier, the thing that really hurt the Arizona Cardinals, it wasn't that they couldn't move the ball down the field. It was because every time they started to put a good drive together, there was a penalty. It was either a pre-snap penalty or a holding or offsides. And it just kind of felt like, the Arizona Cardinals, they hurt themselves all game long in this game, and they were never able to recover from it. Kind of the same thing in their last game against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. They got down early. They hurt themselves. They got stopped a couple times in the red zone against the Seattle Seahawks, and they were never able to recover from it. Same thing in this ball game for the Arizona Cardinals. Jacoby Brissett, even though he has done a terrific job taking over after Kyler Murray got hurt, and to me, it just kind of feels like the Arizona Cardinals, their offense is running more efficiently with Jacoby Brissett than it has been with Kyler Murray. And that's no offense to Kyler Murray, but it just feels like to me that that Jacoby Brissett is right now running this Arizona Cardinal offense more efficiently. And as great as a game as he had, I mean, he had over 400 yards passing in this game, Jacoby Brissett. I mean, he completed 47 passes in this game, which is absolutely crazy. And, the Arizona Cardinals, they literally had to play catch-up ball the whole entire game. And it just kind of felt like at one point in the game, the Arizona Cardinals, they kind of just stopped running the football. And it was just throw pretty much the whole entire game. And Bam Knight only finished with 24 yards rushing in this game. So the Arizona Cardinals, look, this team right now, like I said the last time I talked about the Arizona Cardinals last Friday, is that the Arizona Cardinals, they got to find something out. And they didn't have Marvin Harrison Jr. available for this game, and we all know that he's the Cardinals' number one wide receiver. But I think the Arizona Cardinals actually have two number one wide receivers, because Michael Wilson, he had an incredible game. He had an incredible game last Sunday, and he even had one terrific deep ball catch where he had to jump up and grab it, and he came down with it. And, Michael Wilson, to me, he really got to show that, he could also be a number one wide receiver. And he's been doing well this season for the Arizona Cardinals. That's been another bright spot for the Arizona Cardinals this season. It's been Michael Wilson and Jacoby Brissett. Those have really been the bright spots this year for the Arizona Cardinals. And here's the thing with the Arizona Cardinals. As much as, you want to say that this Arizona Cardinal team, they're pretty much out of it. I mean, at this point, I really don't see how the Arizona Cardinals are going to be able to get back in it in the NFC West right now. I mean, you look at the Los Angeles Rams right now, Matthew Stafford, you have Kyron Williams, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua. Seattle, even though not a great week last week for the Seattle Seahawks, Sam Darnold throwing 4 interceptions last week against the Rams, and the Rams did a great job defensively in that game against that high-powered Seattle Seahawks offense. But the Seahawks, you still can't count them out. Sam Darnold, he's been playing well up until last week. You still have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's become a star now, who's become a star. And then you have Cooper Kupp, and then, they recently added Rashid Shaheed and all of that. But here's the thing. The Arizona Cardinals, like I said, they got to get something figured out, because it's starting to become too late at this point for the Arizona Cardinals, and they need to figure something out fast, because right now they are at the bottom of the barrel in that NFC West, and the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Niners, they're just all pulling away from the from the Arizona Cardinals at this point. And the Cardinals got to figure something out fast. And one thing they need to do is limit the amount of penalties and limit the amount of turnovers they have, and have better execution in the red zone. If they can do that, I think this Arizona Cardinal team would be a pretty good team, because Jacoby Brissett, like I said, he has looked really damn good running that offense for the Arizona Cardinals, and they're just, like I said, more efficient with him as the starting quarterback. So that being said, let's go to the San Francisco 49ers really quick. Brock Purdy, I mean, all this conversation in the media and on social media and all these other platforms and fans talking about, is there a quarterback controversy between Brock Purdy and Mac Jones? Well, Brock Purdy pretty much in this game silenced if there is a quarterback controversy happening in San Francisco. And not only that, Kyle Shanahan said that Brock Purdy is going to continue to be their guy once he gets healthy. And sure enough, Brock Purdy returns. He played excellent in his first start since that turf toe injury. He looked great, and he made some terrific throws in this game. I think his best throw of the game was the touchdown pass to George Kittle. And you know what, Brock Purdy, he looked like the Brock Purdy that we all know he can be. And, you know, I'm a believer in Brock Purdy. And I've said this on this show before. I said it last year as well, is that I'm a believer in Brock Purdy. I think this guy is a star, and he looked like his old self. And yes, the injuries have played a big factor into why the San Francisco 49ers are kind of right now sitting third in the division. But here's the thing with the San Francisco 49ers. And you got to give Kyle Shanahan some credit here. And you also have to give Mac Jones credit here, because Mac Jones and Kyle Shanahan kept this ship floating when it looked like it was all sinking at one point with all the injuries. But Mac Jones and Kyle Shanahan and this 49ers team really kept this together, and the 49ers are still in playoff contention. So the San Francisco 49ers, they looked a little bit like the San Francisco 49ers that we know of. And even though defensively, you know, it was in between defensively for the San Francisco 49ers, when you give up 400 yards passing to a backup quarterback, you know, that doesn't look really good. But, you know, to me, the San Francisco 49ers, the offense, they looked really good. And for the most part, I think the thing the 49ers defense did a good job of was, even though the Cardinals were moving the ball down the field on them, they were able to stiffen up, force a couple of turnovers in this game, and that was good coming from the 49ers defense. And then for the offense, Brock Purdy looked good. Christian McCaffrey, once again, I mean, at this point, is it really even a surprise that Christian McCaffrey does well in a football game at this point this season? He's been, like I said, Mr. Do-It-All. And once again, Christian McCaffrey being Mr. Do-It-All, running the ball, receiving out of the backfield. The man is absolutely incredible what he has done so far in his NFL career. When healthy, Christian McCaffrey is still one of the best running backs in the league. So, that being said, that's all the time that I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed my show today. And also, if you are watching this, make sure, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe to my channel, because you don't want to miss my videos. I'll have an NFL recap every week for you guys during the NFL season. I'll also be talking about USC women's basketball. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, give it a like if you really like the content. And not only that, hit that notification button so that you don't miss a single episode. So you're listening to the Matt the Stat Sports Podcast. I am your host, Matt the Stat, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Friday and your weekend.